we need to talk about a fundamental misunderstanding, one that costs high performers almost everything. It's this subtle, really dangerous idea that rest is just a break from work. We're going to completely reframe that. We're going to start seeing rest not as downtime, but as a strategic lever for building and sustaining your capacity to perform under pressure.
This right here, this is the signal. This is the central idea we're going to unpack. It's a fundamental shift in thinking, right? From seeing rest as this passive thing to understanding it as an active, absolutely essential part of the performance cycle. It's not about stopping, it's about rebuilding.
And what's so fascinating is that this isn't just some nice theory. This principle of strategic recovery is a universal pattern. We see it play out in pretty much every field where precision and clear decision-making under intense pressure are non-negotiable. I mean, just look at this pattern. You have air traffic controllers who have to rotate shifts to maintain that razor-sharp accuracy. You've got special operations units with enforced mandatory recovery cycles. Traders stepping away from the screen after a huge volatility spike. Founders who have to decompress after a grueling funding round. You see, the context is totally different, but the underlying system dynamics, they're identical. The highest performers aren't just enduring pressure, they are actively managing their capacity to handle it. Okay, so to really get why this pattern is so consistent, we need to go a little deeper into the mechanics of it all. We have to separate what our culture tends to reward from what our biology actually demands. So let's look at the system itself. So on one side, you have the typical output culture view. You know the one. If it's not visible action, it's not valuable. Rest is seen as a cost, as non-productive. But on the other side is the reality of any high-performance system. Rest isn't downtime. It's a critical recalibration phase. The system isn't idle. It's busy reorganizing itself for whatever's coming next. And this right here is what the system is constantly fighting: neural residue. Just think of it like an invisible cognitive sludge that builds up when you're on for too long. It's this accumulation of tiny errors, of decision fatigue, that slowly but surely degrades your mental processing power. So rest isn't laziness. It's the biological process that actually clears this sludge out. And this shows us exactly what happens when that residue isn't cleared out. It's not a mystery. It's a predictable, totally mechanical cascade. First, you have the chronic demand. That leads directly to impaired executive function. Then your brain's reward system gets blunted, so it gets harder and harder to even feel motivated. And eventually, your entire system shifts from a state of adaptive performance into a defensive survival mode. You're not thriving anymore. You're just trying to get through the day. And the cost of ignoring this really fundamental mechanical process, well, it's catastrophic. This isn't about just feeling tired. It's a systemic failure that we consistently and dangerously mislabel. This is an absolutely crucial distinction. We have to stop talking about burnout as if it's just emotional exhaustion or a lack of motivation. It is a throughput collapse, plain and simple. It's a mechanical failure. Your brain is a piece of hardware, and like any hardware, without proper maintenance cycles, its processing bandwidth degrades. This is a system problem, not a character flaw. And just look at what happens to your cognitive resources during this collapse. Your perception narrows to a pinpoint. A staggering 60% of your bandwidth is now dedicated solely to threat response. So all those higher order functions, strategic thinking, creativity, being open to new ideas, they're all being starved of resources. You literally cannot see the full picture anymore because your entire system is just trying to survive. And this is so important to understand. This collapse almost never happens overnight. It's the end result of a slow, accumulated misinterpretation of your body's own signals. It's about confusing depletion with dedication, ignoring those flashing warning lights on the dashboard until the engine finally, inevitably seizes. So if that's the staggering cost, where's the edge? Where's the advantage? Well, the advantage comes from adopting a completely different mental model, one that prioritizes sustainability over sheer brute force intensity. The people who sustain high performance over decades, they get this intuitively. Their longevity isn't built on heroic, nonstop sprints, no. It's determined by the ratio of their energy expenditure to their energy renewal. It really is all about the rhythm. See, human performance is naturally cyclical. It follows this pattern of oscillation. You have cycles of high demand, followed by deliberate cycles of recovery. It's this rhythm that maintains stability in your neural and physiological systems. Trying to stay in a high-demand state constantly, that's like trying to hold your breath indefinitely. It's just not sustainable.
And here's the fundamental difference in how you think about it. The peak intensity mindset rewards those short, intense sprints, and in doing so, it masks the slow burn depletion of your core capacity. The sustainable energy mindset, on the other hand, isn't about working less, not at all. It's about deliberately engineering these energy cycles to reduce that neural residue and build true long-term adaptability.
So with this whole framework in mind, the only thing left is to turn the lens inward. Let's just end with a few sharp questions to help you start to calibrate your own system. And I want you to be really honest with yourself here. I'm not talking about a vacation where you were still checking email or a weekend you spent just worrying about the week ahead. When did you last truly disconnect and allow for a full capacity rebuild? What are the subtle signals your system has been sending you lately? That little bit of brain fog, the shorter temper, maybe that increasing reliance on caffeine. What are the data points that you're dismissing as just stress when they might actually be early warnings of a pending throughput collapse? And finally, what is your actual strategy for renewal? Not just stopping work, but what is the active, deliberate process you use to rebuild your cognitive and biological capacity? Because look, understanding that rest is leverage, that's the critical first step. The next, and honestly harder step, is actually building the system to use it.